body's not against you. Maybe the pain you're feeling is your body trying to tell you something. You know, your body's symptoms are not purely physical. They always have an emotional and energetic component as well. If you'd like to learn how to assist your body's natural healing process by clearing blocked energies and understanding your body's messages, I invite you to enroll in my step-by-step course, Talk to Your Cells, because you are so much more powerful than you know.
I used to say we need a lawyer in the family. Having Legal Shield is better.
For less than $1 a day, you get access to vetted lawyers.
Want to create your will? Call Legal Shield. Got personal contracts to review? Call Legal Shield.
Do you need a vetted law firm to write a letter? Call Legal Shield. Warranty questions? Call Legal Shield.
For less than $1 a day, it's a no-brainer. Shield yourself from costly legal expenses. Call Legal Shield today.
Hi, I'm Valerie Holden, intuitive life coach. I work with successful professional women who, on the outside, look like they have it all together, but inside they feel lost or like a piece of them is missing, and they're searching for more joy, more meaning, more fulfillment in their life. They're searching for their purpose. If that sounds like you, go to my website, valerieholden.com, and schedule a call with me. Just click on one of the buttons on the front page. I look forward to talking with you.
Well, welcome everybody to another Mindful Monday, and so glad to have everybody here. You know, we are all on a journey, and sometimes those journeys have challenges. However, you do not have to face those challenges alone. At Mindful Mondays, we believe that we can do more together, and we're here to support you holistically and without judgment. So thank you for joining us today. Now, I hope you are ready to empower your inner boss, because today we have an incredible lady who spent over 20 years as a police officer and transitioned to an empowerment life coach. Valerie Holden is the founder of the St. George Hypnosis Center and the creator of the Bossy Woo coaching program, which is designed to help women gain clarity, ignite courage, and build confidence to live a life aligned with their soul's purpose. And Valerie is a seasoned energy healer and spiritual guide, blending practical wisdom with powerful intuitive insight to deep transformation. And so she is certified in transpersonal hypnotherapist, Reiki, sound healing, quantum healing hypnosis technique, EFT tapping, yoga, and chakra balancing. And that is just to name a few. All I can say is, wow, Valerie, I don't even know how you found all the time, all the time to do all of that, pack all of that in. But thank you for joining us, and welcome to Mindful Mondays.
Thank you, Laura. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I mean, that's just, to me, that's incredible. I know police officer, and thank you for doing that. It's tough being part of the front lines. You wind up having to see pretty much everybody on their worst day possible. So that's a lot to go through. And so I'm kind of curious if any of that had to do, what inspired you to make, because that's a significant shift to go from becoming a police officer to a life coach. So can you maybe share with us what inspired that change?
Let's see, about the 3 or 4 years in. Well, first, I've always been interested in a lot of different things. Health, even as a kid, health and all these different activities I would love. And some that weren't so normal, like ghost hunting. So more alternative things. I remember my mom, one of my presents was a game of ghost. You had these little ghost figures that lit up. You put them under light and it was like fluorescent. So that started young. So, but when I was about 3 years into my police career, you know, it's a little stressful. So I started taking a yoga class at the gym, and I did it for exercise, but also a little bit of relaxation. My favorite part of it was Shavasana, which is the very last pose where we just lay there. And that sort of turned out almost like a spiritual connection for me. So that was a weekly thing. But the instructor was having a presentation at her office one day. It was, let's see, color therapy and Reiki. And so I'm going to go to that. I have no idea what Reiki is, but I was excited for color therapy because I thought it was like what color you paint your walls for different emotions. And when I went there, that's not what it was. It was more of the chakras and all the colors for the energy centers in us, which was interesting that still it was okay. But when the girl that was doing it asked for a volunteer for Reiki, I had had a kink in my neck for a while. And as a police officer driving around, and if you can't turn your head to look at your blind spot, that's not good. So I volunteered. And she put her hand on my neck. It warmed up. And almost immediately, I was able to turn my neck. The pain went away. The restriction went away. I was like, wow. So she was teaching a class. And so I ended up working with her and ended up becoming a Reiki master working with her. And the alternative healing was just very interesting for me. I actually started doing some Reiki. I kept my police job because I loved it, but I was doing this in addition. And so learning all the other things and just doing some self-improvement is when I started learning hypnosis and a lot of different things. But also, life coaching was interesting. But what happened is, even though I liked what I was doing, there was still something inside me that felt like I was missing something. And it really came out. So I had done some life coach training, and there was a woman who was a coach for business owners, women business owners, and I've been following her for a little while. And this was even before Zoom. So that's, you get on a phone call and listen to somebody on a teleconference at that time. How many years ago? 15 years ago. And she was going to be in Phoenix, and I happened to be living in Las Vegas at the time, so it wasn't too far, and I was excited. I'm going to go visit her and watch her presentation. And I had just recently done my coaching training, and so I go, there's a networking session too. So I go, I'm going to go present myself as a health coach because I like health and I'm a coach now. So I made these little business cards to take with me. And before her presentation, when people were getting to know each other, I couldn't give out those cards. It just didn't feel right. And then during her presentation, I'm listening and she said, you have to do what comes from your heart. And I started crying while I was sitting there because I already realized before her presentation I wasn't a health coach, but I didn't know what I was. I wasn't sure what was in my heart. And she was promoting a 3-day in-person training. And after her presentation, I got to talk to her and said, I'd love to do your training, but I really don't know what I want to do or what I should be doing. And she told me about a book called The Passion Test. And so I left her function, went to the bookstore, got it, and read almost the whole thing that night in my hotel room. Got home the next day, I finished it. But the authors of The Passion Test, Janet and Chris Atwood, actually train people to teach what's in that book. And what it is, it's how to find your purpose, how to find the passion in your life and what you should be doing. What is it that you're made? Why are we here? What's our purpose? And so I got certified in that, and I realized that's what I really need to be doing is helping people find their purpose because I can't be the only one that had that feeling. And all the things that I've been learning, the the tapping, the hypnosis, the Reiki, that's all tools that I can just use. And so in my career, I knew I wanted to start a hypnosis business and coaching business when I finished my career. And my husband and I moved from Las Vegas to where we are now. And I started my business, but I was just doing hypnosis at the time. And with the quantum healing, part of it is connecting with the client's higher self. And they would give me a list of questions beforehand. And almost everybody that came for that session wanted to know what their purpose was. And the way that was designed at the time by the woman who created that, it was like a one-time session and that's all you needed. But I noticed somebody might find out during that session what they should be doing, realize what their purpose is, but then what? How do you create the path to get it? What happens when all of a sudden, if you know which direction to go, all of a sudden you hit blocks because once we know what we're supposed to be doing, it's like the universe, even though the universe gives us these things or the divine, it's programmed in us. Now it's like a test. Okay, you think you know what your purpose is. Let's see how committed you are. And all these blocks or all these obstacles get thrown in the way and or fears come up, which is, one of those obstacles. And so if somebody's just trying to do this on their own, a lot of times we just give up and don't do it. So I realized my clients need the support. they need the guidance of, let's create that path for you. And then when those blocks do come up, I'm here to help you to get over it, around it, through it, whatever you need to do. Also, if my clients are like me, they don't have the support system on their own. Their friends or family don't really understand. It's like, you have a good job, you're successful. Why are you searching for all these things? Why do you need to jump to a different career? Why do you need to do these and take all these trainings or self-improvement? And they don't realize, it's inside the person. So they don't have the support either. And so I can be that support. And yeah, so I call my thing Bossy Woo because I can be bossy and shove them when they need to. If you're a little resistant, no, get going. But we also have that connection with the divine. And I can also be here when they need that hug, whether it's a virtual hug or in person, if we're in person. But I'm here for them both ways, and motivation and when they need that. And it was funny too, when I started Bossy Woo, it was how I was going to work with my clients. If I hire a coach, it's because I need some answers to something. And I've had coaches sometimes where it's like, what do you think? It's almost like going to therapy where they're trying to draw it out of you. It's like, if I knew, I wouldn't have hired you.
I think there's kind of a fine line there because, you have to, they want you to realize that you know it within yourself. So they try to pull it out of you. And I don't know, I guess there's kind of a fine line there because it's kind of better than someone telling you, for me at least anyway, and having a coach telling you that you should be doing this. Because if you don't really know me, you don't really know what, I should be doing. So yeah. And I loved your name, Bossy Woo, because everybody always calls it a woo-woo space, right? They always call it woo-woo because when you get into intuitive. So I don't know if that's kind of where part of your woo came from or.
Yes, because I do all the alternative stuff, but I also incorporate oracle card readings, and I'm starting to do astrology in there. So that's all the woo-woo stuff. And but now too, instead of me just being bossy woo, my clients get to be because they now are the boss of their own life, and they've got that spiritual connection, so they've got that woo part as well. And yeah, so it's fun. It's interesting.
Yeah, it definitely is. No, I love how you've put all that together, and you did it while you were in your other career. But I would have to agree with you because just because somebody is successful doesn't necessarily mean that they're happy or fulfilled doing with what they're doing. They're just kind of making ends meet. So
And sometimes too, a lot of times people think if they're unhappy that they need to actually change careers. I need to do a different job. I need a different career. And that's not even necessarily so. You don't, if it's decided that through working together and figuring it out, it's their choice. If you decide you want to change careers, first, don't jump ship. Start with little baby steps in your new thing, before you give up what you already have. But sometimes it could just mean adding something to what you're already doing. Maybe you're already in the place where you need to be, but just need to tweak it a little bit. And then you'll have more fulfillment with it. And sometimes it's as simple as one of my clients did this. She'd had a job for 20 years and she loved where she worked, but she was getting burnt out and just tired and knew it was time for something new. And she ended up talking to her boss and just creating a new job description for herself so she could stay with the people she liked. And but what she also did too was she started a little side gig, training other people. So she got to stay where she was, bringing in the income, and she got to start something else as well. So
yeah.
that fulfilled her.
So it kind of sounds like you found the holistic world by just trying to relieve some of the pain and stuff that you had from your job. Would that be safe to say? So you kind of started learning those skills because it was helping you to balance or to cope with the different pains and stuff that you were coming up with.
I think some of it was already in me. I was doing some of those things before I actually had a job, but I had sort of given up on it, stopped doing it, and yeah, I just sort of brought it up again. Um, and one thing, yeah, the job, the job is stressful, but it was also fun. One thing, well, since you already know an officer, you probably know we wear different hats. So sometimes it is really stressful depending on what we're doing, but also sometimes it's fun. You're helping people do stuff. You get to, talk to little kids sometimes, or, you're playing referee for people sometimes, or sometimes it's just you're almost like a map. People stop you asking for directions. So it's so many things that we do during a day. So thank goodness not all of it is stressful. But one thing with that job is you have to be you can't just drive around with your head in the clouds. You always do have to be an alert because you never know what you're going to come across. So you have to be ready for anything. So that's part of the stress. And so, it does affect for many people, not just in police job, it could be any stressful job, any public service, firemen, anybody in a stressful job like that. But even people in an office job where there's so many jobs, you're responsible for this and this and this. And if you don't get this contract done on time, your boss is, yelling at you. And so that brings up the stress hormone, which now just floods your body. You can't make good decisions. And when that happens, now it affects your relationships, it affects everything, it affects your health, your whole life. And so I think by doing stress management things, which the yoga was, and now the breathing techniques and the different other exercises that I teach really helps with that, helps with our stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely.
Do you think any of the skills and experiences that you gained during your 20 years in law enforcement, have they influenced your approach as a life coach?
I get to be bossy. It's interesting too because somewhat like as a normal person, when I'm just being my regular self, sometimes there's situations that, you know, intimidated might not be the right word, but it's interesting how the change of thoughts when you're doing something as an officer, I have the authority and I have the responsibility to take charge of a situation. That is my job. Um, but in personal life, that's not always necessarily true. Do I want to bulldoze through life? Not necessarily. People don't like you so much if that. So you have to back down sometimes. But when I'm working with clients, yeah, sometimes I do have to be the one that, like before, yes, I can tell them what to do. But the one thing with working with a client is we're doing exercises and we're doing a lot of things. We're figuring out what is the way that they get messages from the universe. What is it's their intuition. So what is the best way to receive that? So doing all these things and figuring out their personality and how things work, it's a choice that yes, I can give guidance, I can give suggestions, but I'm not really saying you should do this, this, this. Now, if it's something where I'm not a business coach per se, but I have a business and have gone through a lot of things. I've had a few businesses. So I can teach them, yes, you need a business license. Yes, you'd have insurance. Yes, you should do that. That is stuff that you really need to do for your business. But other things like how do you want to run it? I can give suggestions, but it's always their choice of how they want to do it, what they want to do.
Yeah. And everybody's different. Everybody perceives things differently. Were there any particular challenges that you faced during the transition? And if there was, how did you overcome them?
Not so much because I was doing it while I was a police officer. I did have an office doing Reiki with clients. So I was doing my traditional job and I was doing some of the woo alternative stuff. And so for me, it was more fun. Once I opened my hypnosis business, I was one of the few people in town that I think was doing it. So clients would come to me, which was nice. So now it's more getting the word out that I'm not just doing hypnosis. I am helping find purpose and I am here to support you. So that's the main challenge is people need this, but people don't always know that there are others out there that can help them. And whether it's me or whether it's somebody else that helps people find their purpose, that they need to find somebody that can help them. And I always think there are other coaches that do this as well. But we're really not in competition because somebody's going to connect with somebody heart to heart or mind to mind, whatever. And someone likes me, that's great. But if there's something that they like better in somebody else, then that's who they should go work with, because you really need to have a connection with whoever it is that you find as a mentor or a teacher. We're just all here, everybody.
Yeah, 100%. Your Bossy Woo coaching program, now that's designed specifically for women, right?
That's who I work with mainly, but I do have a few male clients too, which I love,
Okay.
special men. Yeah.
So what gaps
So,
did you see in traditional coaching that prompted you to create that program?
well, mainly I created it because I was doing I was doing the passion test, but that was just a few sessions, maybe 6 sessions, 3 sessions, 6 sessions, and then we're done. And it was more like, let's figure out what your purpose is, and here's how to deal with some stress, which was great. But then as you're going further down the road, and again, so I was doing passion test, but then I was also doing those quantum healings, and that was just a one session. So I realized people need a longer term working together. Um, Usually about 3 months is the minimum. I'm finding now with my clients, within 3 months, now they're finally figuring it out, because we don't work on just one thing, like what is your purpose? Since it affects all areas of their life, it's like you've got your relationships, maybe your romantic relationships, your friends and family relationships, your career, your health. Do you have any fun? What does your spiritual life look like? So we look at how they're doing in all those areas and then start improving. And it could be someone might think, oh, I need the area, this is where I need improvement, but we might really find, no, you really should start here because this is where you're lacking the most. And so once we get that, now, now we've gotten everything better. And so now we can get down on that path and start moving forward more. And so about 3 months, we finally got everything sort of stabilized, and now it's the movement time, and that's going to be probably another 3 months. So I recommend 6 months. Some people like to stay longer. Some people do year-long programs, but depending, and some people, once they get clear on stuff, sometimes they can do things on their own. And if they can, we'll just do, maybe the 3 months, and I bless you and go do it, but I'm here if you need me. So,
Nice. It sounds kind of like peeling back layers of an onion, right? Or someone might
right.
come to you thinking one thing, but then as you start working together, you discover other things that are maybe either blocking them or getting in the way.
Mhm.
That'd be fair to say.
Exactly. Yeah. And so many times, it's like with hypnosis, everything is in your subconscious. And we don't realize that we do have these blocks until we get to a certain situation. And it's like, I use this really simple example of maybe when you were 3 or 4 years old, you wanted some milk and there's a glass on the table. And so you reach up and grab it and it spills all over. And your mom yells at you, Laura, bad girl. And okay, so now you're an adult. It could be 20, 30, 40 years, who knows? It could be years and years later. And some milk spills. And as the adult, there's more milk in the refrigerator. It's no big deal. It can be cleaned up. But you have this overwhelming feeling that you're bad. And logically, that's not true. But all of a sudden, that memory that was in your subconscious from when you were 3 or 4 years old popped up. And that's what we need to deal with. Some of these things that get triggered when all of a sudden we're in a new situation. And when we start putting new ideas, whether I'm using hypnosis in a session or whether it's just affirmations that a client is saying, putting all those new things into their subconscious, we start changing all of that. And that gives them the courage to start stepping forward, because our subconscious doesn't know what's real and what we tell it. So when we start visualizing how we want things to be, and we start saying, I am whatever, I am a successful accountant, I am a successful entrepreneur, I have my own successful business, I have clients that love me, all these things. That's what our subconscious is going to believe, and it's going to act in that way because it thinks we already are. And so, I am courageous. I am this. That's why we need to start telling ourselves all these things. And so I tell them the next time you have a negative thought, change it into something positive and write that down. That's going to be your new affirmation. So many, so many people. How about, people getting ready? Oh, I look fat, or I look this, or I look that. You know what? No, you're beautiful. You're healthy. You have a healthy, trim body. Start telling yourself that, and let your subconscious start peeling that weight off because you're healthy. Let your actual physical body become a vision that your subconscious knows that it is.
Yeah. Valerie, maybe you can address some of the misconceptions that people have about hypnosis. Because it's one of those areas that gets kind of a bad rap, I think, a lot compared to like from what you've seen in TV shows or movies. People are afraid, oh, they're going to make me do this, this, and that. Can you address that so that people know kind of more what hypnosis is really like?
Yeah, the client is always in charge. They can actually come out of the it's called trance, the hypnotic trance, anytime they want to. Because if anything is said, a hypnotist can't make you do something that you wouldn't normally do on your own. So, like, tell you to rob a bank. If you're not going to go rob a bank, then they can't make you rob a bank. Um, we're not going to make you a If you're at a stage show, that is something completely different. People are up there because they want to be entertained. And just if you ever watch a hypnosis show, you'll notice that the hypnotist will call some people up to the stage, and then he'll do a couple little tests. Like, for example, he might have somebody, imagine a string tied on your wrist, and a balloon is like pulling at your arm up and up and up and up. And he'll watch, like, who's got their arm all the way up, above their head, and who's, barely moves off their lap. Well, the people that are like this is the people who are going to be chosen for the show because they are receiving the messages easier and better. They're easier to work with. And so for him, he's going to have a great show. And then everybody else, thank you, go back to your seat. So they're more suggestible. Um, but a if when you go to a hypnotherapist for stress management or to get over smoking or get over some fears, they're working with what's actually inside you. We're not going to make you do anything crazy. And the ideas that well, during a session, the way I work with my clients is do a full body relaxation with them to get them comfortable before we start. Some hypnotists, they might touch your head, okay, sleep, and all of a sudden, but that's a technique, and yes, it works. That's not how I work. So I take them through, and even now, doing sound healing, sometimes I'll just do, the crystal bowls, and they have some music to help relax as we go. But all the suggestions, so once they're relaxed now, some people think that in hypnosis session, they feel like they should be out of it. But really, I like to relax their body, but their mind is really focused on what's being said. And so what I tell them, what goes into their subconscious mind is the positive things, the changes that they want to see. And we've already discussed it before we actually get to the session where I'm giving them the suggestions. So I know what they want and they know what I'm going to be telling them. And they just relax and just enjoy it all. And when we're done, they just come out of it nice and calm.
Nice. Yeah, I've had one where it didn't work so well for me, and then the next time it does. I think a lot of my problem was just kind of like being an overthinker. But I actually had a conversation with someone the other day that I thought made kind of a valid point. We actually spend a lot of time during our day by ourselves in some kind of a trance, right? I mean, because you have these moments where you daydream, or you've had those episodes where you're so used to driving, here to there, that's like, okay, I don't remember getting on the road, but here I am at work. It's like you kind of go in your own trance. Would you say that's
You
kind of safe to say?
Exactly. Exactly. You're in your own hypnotic trance because there's like four brainwave states. So one when you're completely awake, one when you're just sort of daydreaming, one just before you go to sleep, and one when you're sleeping. And so a lot of times I'll ask people before I actually take them as a client because sometimes they ask, I don't think I can do it. Well, have you ever driven home from work and got there safely, but you have no idea what happened on the drive home? You were in the daydream state. And that is part of hypnosis. Usually with hypnosis, it's in that daydream state or the deeper one, just when you're going to sleep. Um, Also, too, have you ever thought of something before you went to sleep, a problem that you were trying to figure out, and when you woke up in the morning, you had the answer because that was the hypnotic state you put in your brain. One thing, though, I do want to say is for people considering hypnosis, first, you have to believe that it's going to work. Because if you're skeptical, it's not going to. And you have to want it to work. So over 90% of it working is that the beliefs that it's going to work and that you want it to. I have had a couple people come to me and it was almost their last resort. They've tried everything and now hypnosis is going to solve everything for them. And those sessions didn't go so well because they've got their whole dreams, their whole life betting on this one session is going to solve all their problems. And for them, probably that was before I was doing more of the coaching. Coaching probably would have been better for them. And maybe during a session, do hypnosis or maybe not, just talking through and not having them set in their mind that hypnosis is just a technique. It doesn't solve problems. So, I mean, yes, it can, but so many other techniques do too. And if you're so set on this one technique is going to solve everything, I don't want people to be disappointed. Just realize it is one way that can help solve problems.
Well, and that's nice because you have a number of different ways and modalities that you can do to actually help people as well. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I always call it having a number of tools in your toolbox, because it's not always a one size fits all. So,
Yeah, my toolbox keeps getting bigger and bigger, it's like, which
I
is
think
good.
I think that happens with those of us that love to learn and just love to learn about new things because there's always new stuff or things out there that we didn't know about before.
Yeah, I keep telling myself, okay, I know. And in fact, I did Akashic one time. It's like I hadn't actually started. I was doing the hypnosis, but I hadn't started doing the coaching yet, and I wanted to. And I did an Akashic record reading, and the gentleman said, he goes, "You already know everything that you need to know. Just go do it." But I still keep taking classes. So,
I met with someone once that it was the appointment was to do an Akashic reading, but by the time we got talking, I wound up getting a human design
oh
instead because
wow,
that's just the way the conversation went. It's like, oh, apparently this is what was needed right now. I have a human design, so
yeah.
I still have yet to have an Akashic reading done, but
And you know
yeah.
what? That human design is interesting. I'm still confused about it because it's like, when you look at the diagram on that, okay, I know the chakras and I work with the chakras and do clearing, but when you look at their diagrams, my chakras are here straight up and down. Theirs are like, it seems like it's sort of moved around, or that's it's not really a chakra, but it's similar to a chakra. And so it's interesting. I still haven't figured it out. That's the one training I'm not taking yet because I will confuse myself with everything else, I think.
Yeah, there's so many. Which one's your favorite out of all of them? Do you have a favorite?
I like doing the chakra work. And I have some the tuning forks. I like the frequencies. So I like doing the sound baths and I have done like clearing the chakras where a client is on a massage table and I just hold a pendulum over the different chakras and see which is blocked, and you can do that. Or even just during a sound bath because the different bowls are tuned to the different chakra frequencies. And it's interesting during doing a sound bath where sometimes to my ear it'll sound like the bowl is, off, but to the client, they don't notice it. And a lot of times it's like, what's going on inside yourself? Like I might have a whole room of people, and some people will hear it one way, and some people will hear it another way. I just was on Facebook in one of my groups, and someone who is a sound healer went to somebody else's class just so she could enjoy it. And her comments were she didn't really enjoy it because it didn't sound, of course, the person that was facilitating it did it differently than this person did. So maybe she was expecting something different. And so her thoughts could have affected her body, but it wasn't enjoyable. But everybody else who are sound healers was chiming in just exactly right. There was something in you probably that you needed to hear it. How do you not know that somebody else in that room, they probably needed it? So, everybody gets out of it whatever they need at the time. And so it was interesting. But when I did one of my for about 6 months, I went to a local gym, I did a healing circle. And so we would do a meditation where while everybody was just relaxing, I'd go and put, some lavender oil on their forehead and they could just relax, or I'd do some Reiki on them. But one time I did bring my tuning forks, and one set that I have is tuned to different parts of the body. So liver, spine, bone, muscles, whatever people need. And so while everybody was relaxing, one person at a time got to come to the front of the room. It's like, which one do you want me to do on you? And so that was so fun. It's like everybody got something out of that. And I have fun doing it too, doing that stuff.
So do you do a lot of them locally, or do you also do them online?
The sound baths I was doing locally, I'm going to start doing some online, but I can't do them on Zoom. Facebook Live, I figured I can do that. Somehow Zoom has a setting on there where the background noise doesn't go through, and you're supposed to be able to set it, but I haven't been able to figure it out. But once a week, a group that I'm in, Fridays at noon my time, somebody plays a sound bath for half an hour. I tell everybody, don't bother me Friday at noon. That's my meditation. I lay on my PEM mat that has the crystals in it for the different chakras. And for half an hour, I just lay there and listen to it on Facebook Live. And it's like, oh. And if I miss it, it's like, oh no, I have to do it this weekend. So,
I can help you with that. We'll talk offline. I can help you with that, what you're trying to find there.
oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So maybe you can tell me, in your experience, though, what are some of the common barriers that women face when they're trying to align their lives with their soul's purpose?
So many times we just don't think we could do it. We get that fear or that anxiety, or it's not for me, or like even myself before, it's like, oh, it was sort of funny. My mom, when we were growing up, it's like, oh, so and so said you're very nice, or this or that. And it was only just recently I told myself I have to stop thinking that, because it's like, well, that's nice, but it's like, I'm not special. I'm just a normal person. I'm not whatever. And it's like, but really, yes, I am. Because here I'm promoting myself this, and if I'm not special, then why would anybody want to come work with me? I do have all these special skills that are needed, and I want to share them with people. And that was my mindset that, yeah, I am special and I have these things to share. And when I put that out there, now my energy is going to change and it's going to get to the people that need it. And if we think small, which is what I was doing, we're going to stay small. And we're not going to be the leaders or the service providers or whatever it is that we need to be to fulfill the reason that we're here. And sometimes when we think of purpose, yes, I think well, we are here for something, one main thing, but it can change as we go. Or if we fulfill one of our purposes, we're not just going to stop. Now we have a new thing we're going to need to do. But it can be like today, I don't have to go out there and find somebody and change their life today. Hopefully I might meet somebody today that I can down the road, but my purpose today might just be walking down the street and passing somebody and just smiling at them and saying hello. And I don't know what was going through that person's mind or in their life that morning. They they might have been depressed. They might have had a horrible morning. Somebody yelled at them, or maybe they just lost their job. And just having somebody acknowledge them, smile and say hello, might just turn their whole world around. And when we do that, when we acknowledge other people, that's not a big gesture on our part, but that could be the whole world to them. Or even just holding a door for somebody as you're going in the convenience store. Just shows them, wow, there is somebody that actually has some manners, or somebody that cares when, they're in a situation where they normally don't see that. And that could be our purpose at that particular moment. And even just being detoured can put us in a situation, like if you get, so all of a sudden, maybe there's a traffic jam, so you decide to take a detour and it puts you on a whole nother street and you end up seeing somebody else. If you would have been in your normal route, you never would have met that person. And we never was talking about detours or delays. One of my mentors for the hypnosis, so many people, if you get delayed or you're trying to get out of the house at a certain time and something happens, and you don't get out there on time, a lot of times we get frustrated or we get mad or, you rush, 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 and then we start to get, those stress hormones.
Mhm.
Well, he was telling a story one time. He was on the freeway and this car pulled in front of him and cut him off. And what does that do to us? All of a sudden, your blood pressure, you start cussing at the car ahead of you. But he had to apply his brakes and slow down because of that car. And then it continued over. So all of a sudden, there's empty space ahead of him. And ahead of him was a truck that had a tire on it, and the tire fell off and it hit the road in front of his car. And if that other car had not cut him off and made him slow down, that tire would have hit him. Who knows? It could have gone through his windshield and just killed him. So when you think of something like that, I start to look at delays or detours differently. It's like, what what did I avoid that would have been negative, or I might have got injured because of this 5-minute delay, or because I had to go this way instead of this way? And then it doesn't cause stress. It's just like, oh, maybe thank you for whatever you just saved me from, whatever bad situation that I could have been in. So,
Yeah, like you said, kind of finding the positive out of everything, which takes conscious effort to have to do that, because we're so programmed. Like you said, it's so easy to just go and get angry or react. It takes more to just be conscious and think a little bit more about things. So, but you have guided hundreds of clients through significant life changes. So, can you share a success story with us that truly touched your heart?
well, one of my clients came for the session, the quantum healing session, wanting to know his life purpose. And he was working 3 jobs because just to support his family. So that was affecting him. He was stressed because of that. So it was affecting him physically, but also it was affecting his relationships with his wife, with his kids, because he was never there to spend the time with them. And he discovered what his purpose was. And he actually did go back to school and get a career, and he became a therapist working with other people and helping solve their problems. And now he loves his job. His clients love him. But the good thing is now he only has one job. He can set his own hours. So now he's got time to spend with his family. He's got more money, so he doesn't have to have all those other jobs. And that just changed his whole life. And just by discovering what his purpose was and then going after it, creating that path to do it and achieving it, just changed his whole life in all those different areas. And so that was really neat to see.
Yeah, I bet. I always love seeing people when they're doing what they're truly meant to do or in their purpose. Cause I always tell people you can tell because they light up. They're excited about what they're doing. And I always tell people, I'm like, if
Mhm.
it doesn't light you up, you really need to look at what you're doing and take another look at.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's exactly what I say when I give a list, if this, 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 and when you're thinking about your purpose, what lights you up? What makes you lose track of time? Or what would you do all day long, even if you didn't get paid for it? And those are all clues. All the things that we like to do that way are the clues to what our purpose is. And the reason we like those things is so it can get us on our path. That's our God-given things. That's not the right word, but things.
Get the point
I'm
though.
sure there's another word for that, but it's
Yeah. So you emphasize the importance of reconnecting with one's inner wisdom. What practical steps do you recommend for individuals that are looking to tap into their inner guidance?
first, figure out how do you receive the messages. There's 5 main ways. So one of them is visualization. So just think about if you're trying to solve a problem, do you do that by visualizing, seeing something on a movie screen ahead of you, or just seeing pictures in your mind? Then hearing. Sometimes it might be like you hear as if somebody is whispering words in your ear. So if you have a finely tuned ear to music, then that could be a way to do it. Sometimes ideas might just pop into your head. You have no idea where they came from, but it's just there. I've had that happen before. I've had words come out of my mouth during a session with a client. I have no idea where they came from, but it was a perfect answer at that time. And so that was my God-given guidance right there. Sometimes, again, you just know without knowing how you just do. And then in dreaming too. Sometimes you might just dream. So dreams are interesting too, because we go through that hypnotic state before we do that. So that's why if there's a problem that you're trying to figure out, even if what's my purpose, think about it and let your brain figure it out while you're sleeping. And if that's one of the ways, I like to tell people, keep a little notepad by your bed, or now with our phones, we can just dictate something in our phone in the morning. What ideas or what answers came to you in the morning when you wake up? But write it down, or, say it in your phone right away. Because with me, sometimes I might think of it, and if I don't write it down later in the day, I forget what it was. So.
Yeah, sometimes I do that too, and then other times I look at it, it's like, okay, obviously it wasn't that important. And if it was, it'll pop back up, right?
Exactly. And that's one thing too. And that's what I learned from my first hypnosis mentor. When somebody can't think of something, it's like, it'll come to me. It'll come to me. Maybe not at the moment, but eventually it will.
Yeah. So you also have been an author of a couple of, or author of some best-selling books. So do you believe storytelling contributes to the healing and the personal transformation?
I think so because so many times, well, we all go through different things in our lives, and when we're able to share a story, when we're able to share our experiences, other people have been through the same thing. And when they see what someone else has been through by reading about it in a book, hearing about it when somebody's giving a presentation, that can relate with them, and that can a lot of times give them encouragement that they can do something too. The first book I had a chapter in was about how I got to where I am now. And so I wrote a lot about what we talked about earlier, how I was searching and, going and seeing that presentation and all that stuff. And so it's like, I really don't know what I'm doing. And in fact, recently I had somebody want to have a session with me because my chapter in the book actually resonated with her and it touched her. So she was in a similar situation. And so when you see somebody in a similar situation, now you can reach out to them and say, hey, can you help me? Because you understand where I am. I can see how you were here and got here. I can do it too. Now, can you help me or give me some advice on that? And the other book is more of an incident that happened to me when I was in college, towards the end of college career. And so I wrote that. It got really emotional as I was writing it too. I don't know that I want to go into it right now,
Sure.
but it was a situation that wasn't good. Well, he was actually, yeah, I guess I should, I don't want people, what the heck is she talking about? So let me go into it a little bit. I worked at the college, checking in people at the tennis courts and racquetball courts. And I had a partner, but she was late to work because she had a small fire in her kitchen. And so I did it. And so while I was there, okay, I'm going to go stop in the restroom while I'm here. And I actually had a man follow me into the restroom. Um, Luckily, I was still in the stall, so nothing physically happened. But I'm getting chills. This is the first time, even though I've been doing woo-woo stuff before, this is the time I actually realized that I was being watched over. I was being protected because all these ideas just sort of came into my head. I heard the door close and then silence. And it was like, if there's a woman in here, she'd be doing something. She'd be in the mirror, in front of the mirror, brushing her hair. She'd be going to the bathroom. She'd be washing her hands. Something would be happening, and
Right.
nothing was happening. And then it's all of a sudden like alert, and that's in all of us. Um, when we are in a dangerous situation, our body will alert. And then I could see him through the crack in the door. He was standing outside my stall, but it was like every time slowed down, and I was giving these messages. All of a sudden, I remember this magazine article. Glamour magazine, when I was a teenager years ago, had an article. Sometimes if, somebody is robbing, somebody is attacking is not the right word, because if they're attacking you, they're attacking you. But if somebody is coming after you, maybe sometimes they just want to steal your money. They don't necessarily want to hurt you. And so that came to my mind. It's like, and I had the money from from checking in the people at the racquetball courts. So I said, well, if I give you this money, will you leave? And he said, yes. So, and I won't say what he told me before that. Um, so I threw the money over the door, and the cup that I had, it was sort of like this thing, and it had a thing where it came off, and we would
Uh-huh.
keep the money in the bottom, the change and the coins in the bottom, and then the dollar bills in the top. So I threw the dollar bills, and he could hear the quarters jingling. And he goes, "Where's the rest of it?" And so I took the quarters over out and threw them over the door. And it was sort of pathetic. I was actually sort of laughing inside because here's this guy scrambling around on the floor, picking up quarters. How pathetic is that? And then he still didn't leave. But what I was thinking even before that, it was like, if I was calm and I thought, if this is my time to go, I'm sad because I never got married. I never had kids. I was sort of a little sad about that, but if it's my time, then it's my time. And I was okay with that. It was really interesting. But luckily, I heard a sound outside and I just started screaming, and he ran out. And so the story that I wrote is, luckily, I didn't get attacked. I didn't get physically harmed, but so many women are in a situation where they are physically harmed. Um, and, or even if they aren't, but they're still in a similar situation. Well, okay, let me go back to that. They didn't catch the guy. We called the school police and everything, but I was transferring schools right after that happened. And some of my classes were at night. I couldn't study. I couldn't go to class. My mom had happened to be out of the country traveling when that happened, so I never even told her. And so I couldn't finish my schooling. Um, and one day the stress when you don't tell somebody and you just keep it inside. A few people that night knew. My best friend was with me that night, but oh, that night too, trying to just deal with what happened. I figure I have it all together. It doesn't bother me. But I went to a fraternity party that night. I don't drink because I'm the one that always drives. And that night I had like 2 or 3 beers, and it did not affect me. I was trying to forget about what happened, and I guess my system was just so revved up that night that 3 beers, probably I should have been passed out. And it right now, if I have like a sip of champagne, it goes to my head. So, but that was so weird. I remember noticing I don't feel anything
Yeah.
with this.
Valerie, you
But-
said that story is in one of your books. We got about 2 minutes left, so I didn't. It's, what book is that story in? If people wanted
It
to.
is, so that is in Whispers of the Soul. So for the first book is The Call Within, and it's about finding purpose and sparking transformation. And there's about 30 of us or 50 of us in that one. And then Whispers of the Soul again is chapters of people, and it's stories of resilience, awakening, and the power of healing from within. So if anybody, either book, there's a lot of stories, not just mine, other people that have been through similar situations that you might be going through, and you know read those stories, get some encouragement from those, and reach out to the people that are in that book if it touches you and you think that they can help you,
Yeah.
whether it's me or anybody else.
You have such incredible knowledge and experiences, and I know we could go on forever, but we are down to our last 2 minutes. What would you like to leave the audience with today?
Whatever's in your heart, first figure out what's in your heart and then go do it. That's what you were put here for. I think we were put here to serve other people, and whatever we're feeling can help us, can help other people. And just connect with other people. And if you're hurting, find somebody that can help you. You don't have to do this alone. We're here. We can help you figure out what's the next step in your life and get you on that path so you can fulfill your purpose and live what you're supposed to be living.
Yeah. So, Valerie, I want to thank you so much for joining us and sharing all of that with everybody. And anybody who is looking to connect and find their inner boss, find their inner strengths and stuff and your soul purpose, definitely reach out to Valerie. You can see she's a wealth of knowledge. She has a lot of tools in her tool belt. She's got different ways to help you. So definitely reach out to her. So thank you, everybody, for joining us, and have a wonderful week. We will see you next time on Mindful Mondays. Have a good one. Bye-bye.